Well, good morning. Good morning. I hope you guys can notice that I've tried to change things a little bit. Um, I'm using StreamYard now, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with StreamYard, but StreamYard will show a person has commented, but will not let you see who actually commented on the program. I am working on trying to just increase my professionalism, make it look a little bit more well-rounded. So this is my first attempt at this, and funny enough, I'm actually kind of nervous today. So it's definitely a little bit different, a different look, and I hope you guys like it. So I thought I would start a couple of minutes this morning before I get into the questions, just telling people a little bit about how I started this and why I started this. If you guys don't know me, I started the Baffled Brain, Demystifying Dementia, really out of my own frustration. And I was frustrated because I started to be active on a lot of these large dementia support groups, and I've seen a lot of despair and questions that people have. And I know that I have the right techniques to help people. So I started this weekly program. It's been almost a year. I've done about 34 episodes, and it's been an ongoing journey. It started from me answering questions live to me kind of turning it into a podcast format where I will keep answering questions to help people thrive during their dementia journey. And in this process, I also started my own Facebook group to give people more access to education and to challenge people to think different about dementia and to continue to help people thrive in their dementia journey. So this is my story. This is my story, and I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you. Answer your questions regarding dementia. So here is the Baffled Brain, Demystifying Dementia, where my goal is to answer 500 questions related to dementia in 2021 so that you can thrive and not just survive your dementia journey. So far this year, I've answered about 305 questions related to dementia in these formats. If you feel like you need some more structured dementia education, please join my educational group for more weekly videos. And I put the link in the comments. And so this is, today is August the 21st. August the 14th, 2021. And this is episode 34, and I am your host, Lizette Cloete from Think Different Dementia, where we teach you to think different about dementia so you can thrive and not just survive your dementia journey. Just because dementia is complex doesn't mean that we cannot still thrive in the journey. We just need the right techniques at the right time. So thank you for joining me today. If you have questions particular, please put the questions in the comments, and I will get to them as I get through this morning. I am so grateful to be here. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. So I thought I'm going to start the questions with one that came in last night on my prompt that I put for this program. So the question was, how does one navigate the unmet need of a person living with dementia? And that was a super great English. Struggling with English this morning. That really was a very good question. How does one navigate the unmet need? So what does that mean? What do we mean when we say an unmet need of a person living with dementia? So to understand that, what we want to know is that most behavior, and actually, really honestly, even people without dementia, most behavior that we have, whether we're angry, frustrated, sad, whatever emotion we have, right, is because something is not being met. And there is a philosophy in the dementia realm talking about an unmet need, and that all dementia behaviors, all behaviors that people have, if you think about somebody with autism, it's the same thing, right? They have what we call challenging behaviors. So all unmet needs or challenging behaviors that people have that are living with dementia are because they cannot communicate something to us. And so what we want to do when a person has an unmet need, or when we see a challenging behavior of somebody with dementia, is we want to try to look behind it and see what's causing it. Typically, there are three things that are that come together that you have to unpack, and try to figure out which one of these, which sphere these unmet needs, or this need to communicate, a person who is trying to communicate with dementia, what they're trying to say. And the three spheres are the following: the person themselves, what's going on with the person who has dementia. So that's the first sphere. The second sphere is what's going on in the environment. And then the third sphere is what's going on with the person who's helping them with their unmet need. And so we don't think about it as people who are helping people who have dementia. We don't necessarily think about it that we can actually be triggering this behavior, this unmet need, through something that we are either doing or saying, or because they're sensing our frustration or our fatigue or our inability to tolerate the hundreds of questions at that particular time in the day. So how do you navigate this unmet need of a person with dementia? The first thing you have to do is try to identify it. You got to try to identify what's going on. So an unmet need usually has a behavior attached to it. So without knowing what the behavior is, you have to look at that behavior. So I'm going to use a person that I recently worked with in home health, who had probably Lewy body dementia, not entirely sure, definitely had dementia, super supportive family. They were a great family to work with. And I came in and I started working with them. And the biggest thing that they told me was, Dad's hallucinating. And it's driving everybody around him nuts. And we don't know what to do with this. And we want to try to get him back in his bedroom. He was sleeping in the living room. It was a wonderfully supportive family. They were willing to do anything that I recommended to try to change how they were doing things with their loved one who was hallucinating, right? And so one of the things I observed was that he was sleeping right underneath a ceiling fan in the living room that was really old and making a lot of noise, going thwap, 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 thwap. And I was in the room for 30 minutes. No, not even an hour, maybe an hour, right? I was there working with him for about an hour, and most of the time there's nothing wrong with my thinking. And by the end of it, I'm like, oh my word, I can't do this. I've got to get out of here. Ooh, that didn't work real good. I've got to get out of here. That fan is driving me nuts, and there's nothing wrong with me. And so I said to them, I'm like, if you want to make one change today that's going to radically change everything with your father, is take out that ceiling fan and put something else up. And they did. And literally overnight, his hallucinations stopped. So the unmet need, how to navigate the unmet need, is directly related to what the challenging behavior is, because the person's trying to communicate something to you, and how they're trying to communicate that something to you is usually in the form of some sort of a behavior. So we want to know what the behavior is, and then we need to turn into what I call the dementia detective, right? And so you want to look at the environment, the care provider, the care partner, and the person with dementia, what's going on in their world. So that's just a quick, brief overview of how to navigate the unmet need of a person living with dementia. So the next question, if anybody out there has questions live, my camera is covered. That's no good. I did not know that. Well, on my side, it's not covered. I don't know what's going on here. I can see myself on this side. So is my camera still covered? Not anymore. My camera was covered because I had something up that I wanted to read. Thank you for letting me know that. Anybody out there live actually have a question for me? Because I am here to actually answer your questions live too. I bring a list. Here's my handy dandy list of questions in case people don't have a question for me live. Yeah, that was kind of dumb, wasn't it? See, live and learn. I always say this, how do adults learn? Adults learn by making a mistake. So Lizette made a mistake this morning. So thank you for bearing with me when I had my piece of paper up there because I wanted to read something and I covered my own camera. That was kind of stupid. But anyhow, live and learn, live and learn. Does anybody out there have a specific question for me? If you don't, I have a few more questions on my sheet here that I would be happy to keep going with. If you are watching this, please, if you're not a part of my Facebook group, I invite you to join my Facebook group. It's called Think Different Dementia Education Group, because I want people to have access to just a place for some education. So what type of outdoor and indoor activities are good to do with someone with moderate dementia? Oh, that is a great question. What type of outdoor and indoor activities are good to do with somebody with moderate dementia? So that is a wonderful question. So moderate dementia comes with a lot of different stages, right? Moderate dementia can be moderate dementia and physical challenges. So if it's somebody who has a little bit more physical limitations, we want to adapt activities to be more towards their mom seems to do things and seems fine with outings, but you don't want to tax her too much. So how would you know that let's start with that. How would you know you're taxing her too much? So I believe that activities are, I'm an occupational therapist, and so that's my passion, right? I am an occupational therapist. So as an occupational therapist, my background and training is actually to take activities and adjust them to the level of the person that I'm working with. So I can take somebody, I can look and see they're here, I can make something easier or harder depending on what I do with them. So related to dementia, I believe that as long as we want to engage people as long as we can with activities. Activities are super great for us. It's great for anybody. Think about your life. If you all of a sudden overnight, we all have things we like to do. Two parts, right? We have things we like to do, and there are things that we have to do. There are things we have to do that we like, but there are things that we have to do that we don't necessarily like. But we have hobbies, we have roles, we have friendships, we have all these different things that we have always had a part of our life. And so when we have dementia, or if a person has dementia, there's an assumption, because when people get to a moderate stage of dementia, they frequently lose the ability to initiate doing things on their own. They've lost that trigger. They've lost that initiation switch, right? That says, I'm bored, I need to get up and do something, right? My children learned very early on when they were young not to ever tell mom they're bored, because mom would find them something to do. So when somebody has dementia, and at a moderate stage of dementia, a lot of things start to happen, and because their executive functions are starting to decline, which is the ability to plan things, organize things, to be able to initiate, manage time, all of these things start to fall apart. And then they don't actually initiate stuff. And you mentioned here that she likes to do things and seems fine, but you don't know if it's taxing her too much. So how you would be able to see that it's taxing her too much is you watch her behavior. If after you have done, say you took her out, you took her to a grocery store, or this is a prime example, right? It's a doctor's appointment. It's getting hard to take mom out. So when we take mom to the doctor, we take her out to lunch, and then we have her hair done. And then we take her home. And then after that, all of a sudden that night, everything is terrible. We have lots of behavior. She doesn't sleep. She's acting out. She's pacing. All of these different types of things. That would indicate that you're taxing her too much. So how you would know whether or not things are too much is you watch what happens afterwards. So on a good day, we all kind of know what a good day is and a bad day is for our loved one with dementia. My mom has moderate dementia. She does not like to leave the house. I have a tremendous challenge getting my own mom out of the house. My trick is to invite them. We have a duplex up in Greenville that we are actually in the process of renovating. And my trick to get her out of the house is to have my dad put her in the car and bring her to see the renovation, right? But if when she goes home afterwards, things are harder for my dad, then I would know that that is not an appropriate activity for her anymore, right? So that's how we know that things are too much or too little for the person that we're helping. Now, what type of outdoor and indoor activities are good for anybody to do with moderate dementia? Whatever they like, whatever they've always liked. We all have different things we like. I hate puzzles. If I have dementia and you give me a puzzle, Lord have mercy, I'm going to be frustrated and I will probably push the puzzle all over the floor. I do not like a puzzle. Never have, probably never will. My husband, on the other hand, sit for hours making a puzzle. It would drive me absolutely batty. So you need to know your mom. What kind of activities did she enjoy throughout her life and in her career? Was she an outdoor type of person? If she liked to be outdoors, even just taking her outside and sitting in the sun or sitting outside on a porch. But yet again, you want to be able to watch what you're doing with a person. I've seen a wonderful little video clip of a person with dementia who their family took outside, and the video was taken to show. It was a really good demonstration of somebody with agitation. And in the video clip, the person with dementia is sitting in the wheelchair, and she's moderately impaired by now. And she's sitting in the sun. The sun is in her eyes. You know, you can see, and she's blinking like this. There is a lot of background noise from traffic and an airplane going by, and the person's loved one who was sitting outside with them, they took her out with good intentions, right, to get her outside, which is great. Was sitting there and was asking her repetitive questions. Mom, do you want to do this? Mom, do you want to do that? How about this? How about we do that? Like in a minute, asked her 45 questions. I'm like, whoa, too much. So it's going to depend. Anything that the person likes. And the way you know that things are too hard is because it causes frustration or behavior. Sometimes if things are too easy, it can cause frustration and behavior. So you just need to know your loved person. You just need to know what they liked. Try things. And if it doesn't work, try something else. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. You don't stop trying things with somebody with dementia just because it didn't work the first time. Um, Indoor type of activities, if they were a housekeeper, like ran their own household, right? Not a professional housekeeper, but a woman, a mom, typically ran their household, right? They did laundry, they sorted laundry, they unloaded the dishwasher, put like dishes away, those kinds of things. So how you make it harder is you have her do everything. Maybe physically she can do everything, but she doesn't know how to sequence it anymore. So then you're just there helping her sequence the things. Here, this is where we go put these. And you just supervise and kind of do something else and just watch what she's doing. If she gets stuck or looks lost, then you just give her a cue and help her to do the next step. If those things are too hard, you give her a simpler activity. You throw how do you make a laundry task easier or harder, right? A hard laundry task is literally sequencing the whole thing, sorting the laundry, whites and darks, taking the laundry to the washer, putting the laundry in, determining which cycle to use, putting the soap in, closing it, setting it, going to remember an hour later to take the laundry out, sort things that can go in the dryer, sort things that need to go on the line. That's a very complicated task. How do you make that easier? Sort the whites and the darks. Or take just one step. Laundry's done. Here it's on the bed. I want you to help me sort the clothes, right? Put all the t-shirts here, put all the underwear here, put all the socks here, to do things that way. How do you make it even easier? Just give people towels. Just give them towels, fold it up. Don't care about the quality, right? It's not the quality necessarily that we are looking for. It's the engagement in the task. So I hope that was helpful. If that was not close enough or particular enough for what your needs are, feel free to reach out to me, and you can message me at Lizette Cloete. I'm happy to answer people's messages. I do that all the time. I encourage you to join my Facebook group called Think Different Dementia Education Group, where I do another weekly program on a Thursday evening for the people in that group, which is topical and more educational, just for the smaller groups. So I thank you for being here, and I am going to, if anybody has another question, please throw it in. I'm having issues with my arm here. Please throw it in the comments. I would be happy. I'm here particularly to answer your questions. So the next question that I had prepared was the following. We recently put mom in memory care, and she keeps asking to come home. How do you handle this? So here's the backstory on this question. Here's the backstory for this particular question. My mom was put in a memory care on Thursday, and they asked us not to visit her for 2 weeks. She wants to know when she can come home, and the person who posted this said, I didn't expect to be this stressed out about this. How do you handle their questions? And this question was from Patty. So Patty, you and I dialogue a little outside of this forum, so I know a little bit about your backstory. I know that it is extremely difficult and emotionally. We all have the person we're caring for's best interest at heart. So I know that when somebody makes the decision to put somebody in a memory care or in a skilled nursing facility or assisted living facility, it is because they have thought this through a lot, right? We do not just make these decisions lightly. Nobody makes these decisions lightly. I certainly don't make these decisions lightly. Do you make these decisions lightly with the person that you are loving and care for who has dementia? No, probably not, right? So when we've made the decision to put mom in memory care, it is a very difficult decision. It's a difficult transition for mom, and it's also a difficult transition for the person who has been taking care of them. Most of the time, it's one of two things. Somebody's been living entirely independent, or they've been living independently to the best of their abilities and now no longer can live alone anymore, correct? Or it is somebody who has been living with you whose needs now are their needs surpass your ability to take care of them at home. And it is difficult. I know it's difficult. The facility typically asks people not to, and each facility is different, right? Every facility isn't going to do things in the same way. Each facility may say, it's okay to come. One facility may say it's okay to come visit. Another facility has realized that people take about 2 to 3 weeks to get used to a new routine, and so ask you not to come. So the facility has asked not for you not to go visit, but you obviously are still in telephone contact or some contact with your mom, and she is asking you these repetitive questions about when to come home. And yes, I understand that is extremely stressful. I would be stressed out too. Repetitive questioning is extremely difficult. How do you handle their questions? I'm gonna tell a story, and I think I actually messaged you this last night, right? Do you remember when your kids were young? Most of us have had children. Not everybody has, I understand. But most of us have been around children. Most of us have been around children going away to camp, right? So when your kids are little and they go to camp the first time, they could be, I don't know, I think I was maybe 8 or 9 the first time I went away to camp here in the United States. And all I knew was home, right? All I knew was mom, dad, my sister, the household. And all of a sudden you're at camp. And everything is different and nothing's the same. And the routine is different. And I'm scared and I'm frustrated. And it's normal. That's a normal feeling, correct? Most of us have experienced that. Or, for example, my daughter, when she was about 15 years old, was the first time she went away to an overnight 1-week camp. And she kept calling me the first night, and she's like, Mom, I can't sleep. I want to go home, everything. And literally, I kid you not, I remember this so clearly. I looked and I heard her voicemail on my cell phone, and she's like, Mom, come pick me up, Mom, come pick me up. And I sat there and I said to myself, baby, I can't. This is what's best for you. This is not what's best for me. I want to come pick you up. I want you to come home. I love you and I don't want you to be experiencing this, right? And so I sat there and I deleted her voicemail and I flat out ignored her. It was probably the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life, was to ignore my 15-year-old daughter who was calling me repetitively saying, Mom, I want to come home. And the reason I did that was because it was what was best for her. It wasn't what was best for me. I wanted her home, right? My daughter was hurting. It was hard. But after that week, she had transitioned, and it was a transition that she needed in order to become a successful adult, right? And so the same principle can be used with our loved ones who we are transitioning to a different level of care. It is what's good for them, right? You didn't make, Patty, you did not make this decision lightly to put your mom in memory care. You put a lot of thought and probably a lot of prayer into why to put mom into a memory care facility, and that this was the best level of care for her. So the best way to handle it is to just almost ignore it. I hate to say that, but it probably will make it easier for you if it means that you need to entirely unplug from her for 2 weeks to give her that period of time to transition. If it makes it easier for you to understand, most people with dementia, when they go from one place to another, to another, to another, take about 3 weeks for their brain to catch up. That is normal. For example, somebody's at home, they have an acute episode, they end up in the hospital, they're in an emergency room in the hospital, then they go to another room in the hospital, they're there 3 days, and then they go back home again, right? Each one of those stages will put their brain back because their brain's trying to get caught back up again. So it's going to take her about 3 weeks. 3 weeks to establish a new routine. We all use routine to keep us on track, every single one of us, even normal people. My routine is out right now because my husband is living up in Greenville. I live in Greenwood, South Carolina, which is about an hour apart. And so and I feel it, wouldn't you? I feel it that I don't have my husband with me. My routine is out. Now I'm waking up at 4:00 in the morning. It's not super great. But anyway, just because my routine is not normal, I'm not thinking as clearly. And so it is normal for people who have dementia when they transition from one level of care to another for it to take about 3 weeks. That's why the facility says don't come visit for about 2 weeks. So Patty, I hope that helped you. I hope that alleviates your stress. Definitely, you're doing the right thing. If you've put considerable thought into this, you definitely are doing the right thing for you and your mom. So don't second guess yourself. We are here to support you. This is Saturday, August the 14th, and anybody who is on here live, if you have particular questions for me, I am here to answer your questions. Please post them in the comments and I will get to them. I have a few more questions on my handy dandy cheat sheet that I have prepared here just in case people don't ask me questions, but I am actually here to answer your questions. So I will come back to a question. If somebody has one, put it in the comments and I will come back to it. Here is the next question. So, does anybody else's person with dementia deny that they have dementia? This is a favorite question, right? This has a big old fat fancy word that I can never pronounce, which is terrible, right? I'm supposed to be good at what I do, and sometimes I don't feel like I am. But it is very common for this to occur. So I'm going to talk about this for a second. So does English. I don't know if you guys know this, but English is actually my second language. I actually speak Afrikaans at home. We do not speak English in my husband and I. We don't speak English. So English is my second language. So when I start to do that, it's because my brain is thinking in 2 languages. So I thought you might find that interesting about me. I always tease my husband and my kids that and this is just an aside, if your loved one actually does speak 2 languages, so a lot of people speak 2 languages or 3 languages, right? When they have something happen with their cognition, it is actually very common for them to go back to their primary language. Now, what primary language means is that that's the first language somebody learns when they're growing up. So even though Afrikaans is my primary language, English is my stronger language because I use that every day professionally. But if something were to happen, I might go back to my primary language, which was the first thing I learned, which is Afrikaans. So if you have somebody who spoke Greek at home and English is their second language, things may happen that mean that they go back to their first language, which was Greek. So does anybody else's person with dementia deny that they have dementia? Nobody else has that happen, right? That's me being a little sarcastic. I know I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to put my eyeglasses on because I need to see for this because I'm going to read this person's question. I'm wondering, does any of your loved ones say to you that they don't have Alzheimer's or dementia? especially in the beginning. My loved one has both Alzheimer's and vascular dementia, and they're thinking possibly frontotemporal dementia as well. He says he's going to sue all the doctors who have had anything to do with his diagnoses. He continues to drive, even though 4 doctors has said he cannot drive from now on. And about 11 or 12 weeks ago, mysteriously, I love that. That was a great way of doing it. His keys went missing to his Ford Mustang convertible. He's told everybody that I'm a thief. I'm so sorry. I know that must be super hard hearing that somebody you love tells you that they think you stole their stuff. And so, are you all accused on a regular basis of abuse by your loved one? That is not uncommon at all. He said he's going to call DSS, and I believe he would do that. What are your thoughts on this? This was from Nancy. So I'm going to start with the question, is it common? Does anybody's person with dementia deny that they have dementia? That is extremely common. It has a big fat fancy word that I cannot pronounce. I will put it in the comments afterwards. About 80%, I believe, if I remember correctly from the last time I looked at the number, about 80% of people who are diagnosed with dementia have this syndrome. It's called anagnosia. I cannot pronounce it. I will put it in. I promise I'll put it in the comments. I should put it in. Let me see if I can do that while I'm talking. Let's see. I can't speak entirely. I believe that's how you. I believe this is how it's spelled. I could be wrong, but then I'll fix it later on. I'm sorry about this. I should have done this at the beginning. But about 80% of people who are diagnosed, and it's different than somebody just denying something, right? Denying something is when you kind of somewhere in your body know it to be true. Like when somebody dies, right? The 5 stages of grief are anger, denial, bargaining, something, and acceptance. I can never remember that there are 5 of them, but denial is very common, like when somebody passes away. And those are the normal stages of grief. When we talk about somebody denying having dementia, it's not the same thing. It is actually a physical change in their brain. It's diagnosable. And 80% of people who have dementia and Alzheimer's dementia experience this. And it's not that they're being stubborn or hard-headed or being nasty about it and just, putting their head in the sand going la la la, that they want to deny it, right? Doing what I call the ostrich thing. People with dementia are not on purpose denying it. It's a physiological change in their brain. It's not on purpose. And so that's the first part of her question. The second part of it had to do with driving. Driving is so hard. That is a very, very difficult thing. And I say this frequently, remember, that it is a privilege to drive. It is not our right. We do not have a right to drive a car. There's a reason why we get given a driver's license, right? It's a privilege because there are other people on the road. So yes, you have done the right thing by taking your loved one's keys away, even though he is accusing you of being a thief. As to your comment about DSS, since your loved one has several doctors that have backed you up on the fact and have documented that he shouldn't be driving, etc., as difficult as it would be for DSS to be called, I would, first of all, a lot of planning has to go into somebody picking up the phone and calling DSS. So I'm honestly not too super scared about him actually following through on it. But if he were to follow through on it, you would have the documentation from the physician, the documentation from all these different physicians related to his inability to drive and do these things on your side. And so I would not be too concerned about it. I don't want you to go through it for sure. And nobody wants to go through having DSS called. It is for sure a very stressful situation. But if it were to happen, you would have the documentation to support that your dad is no longer competent to make these decisions for himself. And so, Nancy, this is what I would be sticking to my guns. I would understand that what looks like denying is actually a result of physiological changes in his brain, and that you just need to keep supporting and loving him through this journey. I know how hard this is. I live it on my side. I've been an occupational therapist for 30 years, and I've been helping people with dementia for 30 years. It's my passion. I hate the disease, but I love the people. I love working with the people and their care companions, care partners. I hate that people believe that you cannot still thrive with dementia, because with the right information you can. It is possible, but you have to be willing to change things. And so I encourage you, if you've been watching this program, if you're not a part of my Facebook group, it's called Think Different Dementia Education Group. It is a private group where I do hour-long weekly programs on a variety of different topics, where I try to answer people's questions a little bit more in depth, where people can dialogue with me a little bit more. And so I definitely invite you to join. If you're not a part of the group, it would be wonderful to have you there. Anybody on the live stream? There, I see a comment. Let me hop on there. Hi, good morning. Wonderful to have you here. So the next question, if anybody live has a question, I really am here to answer your questions live. People aren't taking me up on answering questions live as much anymore. So I just come prepared with several questions to answer for people, ones that I think that I can answers. So if you have questions live, please put some questions on there. The next question I'm going to answer is the following. How do you know that the time has come that your loved one can no longer be living alone? How do you know that the time has come for your loved one to transition to a different level of care? How do we know that? This was from Kennelly. Kennelly, I will tag you in this later on if I remember. It's been super busy. So here is her backstory. Here's Kennelly's backstory. Here was the question that she posted. My mom just retired, and we are spending more time together with my children on holiday, where I get a close look to see how she's progressing, and we will be sleeping in the same house until the end of August. She is 67, and it's been 2 years since we have noticed her forgetting, and have gone to a dementia clinic and have seen 3 different neurologists and have done series of tests, which have indicated maybe a type of Alzheimer's, but check back in a year. That is frustrating, isn't it? That is so frustrating. It really, really, really makes me angry. And Kennelly, you know that because we talked about this. Because there are things that we can do. I'm not saying that we can entirely take dementia away. I believe that the sooner we start working at it, the less impact it can have. And that's why my group is called Think Different Dementia, because I want people to think different about dementia. I don't want people to just think it's doom and gloom. Yes, it is difficult, but there are things that we can do to help people still thrive instead of just survive this journey. So I hope you are in this with the mindset of being able to change things, change how we do things, because there are things that we can do. So she arrived today and we put her stuff in one of the bedrooms, and 10 minutes later she's looking around for all of her things. We put her food in the freezer and she panicked and said she forgot to put the food in the freezer. She put food to cook on the stove. I switched it off, and when we came back she was worried because she didn't think we had switched the stove off. All of these things, right? And Kennelly, you said that the doctors have said that if she can cook on her own, she can live on her own. I might beg to differ with the doctor a little bit about that, because what does the doctor mean by cook? So there's a lot that goes into cooking, and that's a whole separate conversation. You say she's become a tragic hoarder, and you don't know why this has happened. She keeps buying food. Her fridge is full, and you're not sure how to handle it. She keeps buying clothes, keeps buying more things. And I know that you have tried to get her to change her lifestyle and cut out gluten and sugar, and you wonder if she's just being stubborn or if she forgets. So, lots to unpack. But the basic question behind everything that you have said is how to know that the time has come that your loved one can no longer be living alone. So Kennelly, you mentioned here things like cooking. You mentioned here hoarding things, right? You've mentioned here just everything being out. You posted some photos in the group of what her fridge looked like, with lots of food, like stuffed full of food, right? You can literally not see the back end of the fridge, right? All sorts of groceries out on the countertop. So let's go behind. Would you guys like to know the why? The why behind that? The why makes it so much easier to understand, and then it starts to make it easier for us to understand when, right? The when. So the why everything is packed out, the why the fridge is full, the why she's hoarding stuff, why everything is out on the countertops, etc. So as a person is progressing through dementia, they lose their executive functions. And you mentioned here that her work, and this is a telltale thing, Kennelly, that her work asked her to retire because she couldn't keep up anymore. So your mom had been starting to make errors at work that other people have noticed. And so because she's not able to do those higher level skills, things like planning, organization, time management, anticipating consequences, forethought, emotional regulation, right? We all have to be able to, in order to work, you got to manage your emotions, right? You got to be able to manage your emotions. You can't be like a yo-yo. Nobody wants to work with a yo-yo, right? I don't want to work with a yo-yo. When my colleagues are yo-yos, it makes my day difficult. And I know you guys can relate to that. I'm very sure of it. But when people start to go and lose these executive functions, and they're starting to, one of the things that you have to be able to do in order to live alone is scan your environment, right? Why is scanning your environment so important? Because if you cannot scan your environment and know that an item that you want or need, for example, food or medication, is outside of sight, in a drawer, in a kitchen cabinet, in the fridge, right? Opening the fridge. If you cannot scan your environment and see and remember that something's out of sight, you cannot live independently anymore. It's not safe for you to live alone anymore, because you won't likely remember to go eat, or to go prepare your food, or to start to do those kinds of things. When people start to put things out, like when I go into a patient's house and I walk into their bathroom and they have 4 of the same item laying out, I know they are really struggling with their thinking because they forgot where they put the first one. Like I scan and I see the toothpaste, the exact same brand of toothpaste here, there, and in a drawer. I'm like, Houston, we have a problem because the person is losing the ability to be able to find things, scan their environment, and find things if they cannot see them. So they'll walk into the bathroom. They may know that they still want to go brush their teeth, correct? And they go in and literally, because it's out, they'll see it and they'll do the task. It's not necessarily because they're planning to do the task. So Kennelly, I know that this is a hard transition. It's a very difficult transition for everybody, but I want you to start to consider that your mom might not be safe to be living at home alone anymore. There are strategies that you can put in place to try to keep her at home with a lot of external support, but that type of external support is probably daily and with lots of help. So if you need help with that, you can reach out to me. You know how to get a hold of me. We've messaged before, and we can certainly dialogue about what to do next. If you are on live and you have a question for me, I see I have a couple of comments. And let's see what we have here. I asked about dealing with the loved ones' questions when they want to go home from memory care. I know. I actually answered your question first. So you'll actually have to go back and read, well, that would be good, right? If this is Miss Patty, I actually answered your question earlier on in the broadcast. So when this is done and it's on replay, I want you to go back and just watch it. It was the second question. It was the second question that I answered, okay? So I did answer your question, and thank you for asking it. It was a very good question. I know how hard it is. I truly, truly know how hard it is. And you do not need to feel guilty. Please do not feel guilty, okay? We can talk about guilt another day again, but guilt is definitely, when we have our loved ones' best intentions at heart, you do not need to feel guilty because you are doing the best thing that you can with what you have been dealt. Is there a way to relax? You're having surgery next week. So do some deep breathing exercises. And out. And out. Some other things you can do are some, I forgot what they're called, to be honest, but where you kind of tighten all your muscle groups. Just tighten your muscle groups and relax and literally go from your head down to your toes. Some guided imagery. Go maybe look up on YouTube some videos for guided imagery. And then I have started to have hot flashes and some changes in my hormones and have been feeling anxious. And so I actually went to a homeopathic store and got some homeopathic drops to see if that would help. And they've been helping me. So you could try some of those things. But that's just, my opinion. It's not a fact. You got to do what works for you, okay? And let us see. Here's the last question we're probably going to have time for today. And unless somebody has a question. Yes. Guided imagery is very, very helpful. So the last question, which I didn't make a little banner for, is I need some sound advice. And this has to do with, I'm going to see if I can type and write it the same. How to protect your marriage in your parents' dementia journey. We will We will call it that. It wasn't entirely the verbiage, but I will go into that real quick. So, good morning, everybody. I need some sound advice. My dad's dementia is getting worse by the day, and he has fallen twice this past weekend. He keeps getting UTIs. He doesn't understand the television, etc. Mike, which is her husband, and my marriage is suffering. I have started stuttering. We can't ever leave Dad alone. I work mornings while he's sleeping. My husband and I both feel strongly for everybody's safety. He needs to be in a care facility of some sort. He is 98 and has been with us for about a year and a half. My questions are there certain questions we should ask the facilities we are considering? How do we take Dad to see it before we take him to live there? I just don't know what is best. He will have a fit, and he's verbally abusive to me every day already. Please, no judgment. We have prayed and prayed about this, and we are scared that he is going to fall while we're not around one of these days. And this was Miss Beth. So, Beth, I'm going to come about it from your marriage perspective. And the reason I'm coming about it from that perspective is because I truly believe, and, I can only answer questions from my worldview perspective, right? I believe that even though we are given to our parents for a period of time, the primary relationship in our life is with our spouse. So yes, your dad's been alive for 98 years, and you have been his daughter for however old you are. And so he's been in your life for that period of time. But the primary relationship that you have is actually with your husband. And if you and your husband have decided that this is the right thing to do for your marriage, as well as, like we spoke about earlier in the program, when we are making these decisions with and for our loved ones, we are making it from a place of caring about them. We are not doing this from a spirit of, most people are not doing this from a spirit of meanness or nastiness, even though I have seen some people, and I'm sure you guys have as well, who do this from a spirit of meanness. I'm not saying that those people aren't out there, but I am not speaking to them. I am speaking to you, Beth, that I can tell from your question that you care about your dad. He's been with you for a year and a half, but you mentioned in your statement to me that he is falling, he's getting UTIs, he's verbally abusive, and it's impacting your marriage. And when you have those situations all going on at the same time, then it may be the right decision for you and in your particular situation for him to be in a facility. Now, how do you make the decision regarding placing somebody in a facility, like the physical questions for the facility? So here's where I start, right? I start, and you guys are going to laugh at me, but I start with Medicare's website. Medicare.gov. If you go to Medicare.gov on their website and you type in nursing home compare, it will take you, you might have to look a little bit because, they change things. But if you go look at their website, Medicare actually has a place where you can put in your zip code in the United States. And the reason that this is helpful is you put in the zip code and it'll pull up all of the facilities, skilled nursing facilities, hospitals, hospice, home health agencies, assisted living facilities. All of these different types of facilities are graded by Medicare. Little known fact. And so you type in your zip code. 29687 is Taylor's. All right, South Carolina. So you type in your zip code, and then it'll pull up every single facility in the area. And then you look at those, and it goes a 5-star rating system. 5 is the best star. 1 is, I don't want to have my dog live there, right? So you look at the facilities in the area and see which one has the highest star rating. What you are looking for in a facility, any facility, is staff ratio. That's the most important thing. The higher the staff ratio, the better the care in a facility, always, because that means there are more warm bodies to actually go take care of the person who is being taken care of. So that is where I would start. And then you want to go visit facilities at different times of the day. Don't want to just go in same time every day. You want to go a lot of different times and then ask them for references. Ask them for people who live in their long-term care side. Ask them for family members who you can talk to individually as a reference. I think that's the best thing that you can do. So I hope, Ms. Beth, that this answered your question. So I have a question on the live stream. Wonderful. For anybody who is watching live, I really appreciate you guys being here. I invite you to join my Facebook group called Think Different Dementia Education Group, where I do another program like this once a week on a Thursday night in order to further continue to educate people about dementia, because I believe we can think different about dementia. We can change things and we can help our people that we are helping thrive with and in the journey instead of us trying to just survive. So here's the question. I currently live with my mom-in-law who packs her bag daily and wants to leave daily. It can get so frustrating as she places her bag in the lounge and it causes an obstruction. She's always looking to fill her bag and will literally fill it up with whatever that she comes across. Is this normal behavior? She also stands in front of the mirror and has conversations with herself for hours on end. We've tried covering the mirror, but she just removes the cover. Does this not fuel her hallucinations? She is 69 and has had dementia for the past 6 years. Well, first of all, I am so excited that you're here. Thank you for your question. I know that this must be very frustrating. Challenging behaviors can be very frustrating. So you have a two-part question. So this is the last question I'm going to answer for today. I'm going to start with your second one first because it's a little easier for me, and then I'll segue back into the first one, right? So your mother-in-law stands in front of the mirror and has conversations with herself for hours on end. So what that tells me is that she is at a certain level of her dementia. She can still recognize that there is someone in the mirror, but she doesn't recognize herself anymore. So her dementia is pretty far advanced. She's moderately severely impaired by now. And she has a little bit of ability to problem solve because she knows, at least in the house that you guys live in, that the mirror is there, and when you cover it, she can remove it. So she is able to identify that there was a problem. She wants to see the mirror and she takes it off. It is likely not fueling her hallucination. And the reason I say that is, as long as it is, so behavior is, challenging behaviors are sometimes challenging for me, right? And it's not necessarily challenging for them. And when I look at that particular situation regarding the mirror, it seems to me, and I could be wrong, and it won't be the first time, right? Most of us are wrong some of the time. But it seems to me when you describe that behavior is bothering you more than it is bothering her. Hallucinations are something different. I don't particularly, and I could be wrong, but I don't see when somebody's standing looking in a mirror that they're hallucinating. They don't understand that the mirror is outside of themselves, that they're seeing a reflection of themselves. It might be, a better term might be maybe a little bit of a delusional activity, but hallucination is somebody is sitting there and they go like this, and you say, "What are you doing?" "I'm trying to swat the flies that are flying." Or, "Why are you scratching yourself?" "Because the ants are crawling on me." Or, they reach out over there and it's like, "What are you trying to do?" "I don't like that cockroach walking on the table." Something that they truly see that isn't there. So your mom truly is, even though we understand that she's not in the mirror. She is actually seeing something. So I would say that that might be bothering you a little bit more than her. And so you might just want to reframe it in your head and say, does this really matter? Is it harming her? Or is it just frustrating me? If it's not harming her, let's try to reframe it in your mind. And there may be times when it is harmful to a person to be doing that because they just keep walking back to the same mirror. But if it's a behavior that's truly just harming, bothering you, what kind of things can we do? We can try other strategies, but maybe start with that for right now. But regarding what you said about the packing her bag daily and wanting to leave daily, it can be getting frustrating as she puts her bag in the lounge and it causes an obstruction. She's always looking to fill her bag and will literally fill it with whatever that she comes across. Is this normal? I don't know that it's normal, but I don't know that it's abnormal. People can have challenging behaviors that come in all shapes and sizes. And so most challenging behavior is a result of an unmet need. I don't know, how long she's lived with you. I don't, there's a lot that we might have to actually unpack a little bit more about this. What are some reasons that she's trying to leave? Is she bored? Have you considered not putting her, but having her go to an adult daycare where you can pack a bag in the morning, every morning, her little bag, and take her to an adult daycare for the day and then bring her home at night. You would need to try different strategies to see what works. Remember, there are always three things that we're looking for. The environment, how is the environment triggering this behavior, this unmet need of hers? Does she see her bag every morning and then think she needs to fill it? What kind of environmental cues are there? Does she see her own home? Do you live next door? So many things, right? That she could see her own home and still has a realization, I want to go there. Is she sensing your frustration or stress and feels like she needs to leave? Is something going on with her? Is she anxious and cannot tell you that she's anxious? So there's a lot that can go into that. So I know that wasn't necessarily the clearest, biggest answer I have given, but I know that I am out of time and I need to go work on my duplex. And I loved being here today. This was a great broadcast. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you guys have just come across me, my name is Lizette Cloete. I'm an occupational therapist by background and training. I started down this journey because I have 30 years as a therapist working with people with dementia and know that there is so much that we can do to help people with dementia still thrive. And when I joined these large Facebook groups, I started to see a lot of doom and gloom and despair. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. I want to help people. I want to support people and in their journey. And I want our loved ones, because my mom has dementia, my dad is starting to show cognitive decline, right? I want them to be able to thrive in this journey. I want us to be able to thrive in this journey and not just survive. So if you've just come across me, please join my Facebook group. It's called Think Different Dementia Education Group. I'm welcome to have you there. And I end all of my broadcasts every week with the following statement: the Lord bless you and keep you, and I will be back again next week. Thank you for joining me this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Bye, guys.